Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be all about luxury goods and whether you should splurge or save on specific items. As you can tell either from watching my channel or from my background behind me, I bought a lot of luxury goods in my time and I feel very fortunate to have everything that I do, but I also hope that I'm objective enough to be able to see in hindsight whether I thought that item was worthwhile or not. So I'm going to be going through common things which people tend to spend money on, or at least I tend to spend money on, and seeing whether I think you could perhaps splurge or save on that specific piece. So I hope you guys enjoy this and I'm gonna go ahead and get started. So I'm going to be going in alternating order, doing one save item, one splurge item, and so on and so forth. So my first save category are clutches. Now, I did actually just buy an expensive clutch. It's this Saint Laurent one right here, and I do really love it. If you're interested in this particular one, I'd recommend it because I have been really enjoying mine. However, I would say that clutches in general are an area that you can save in if you want to. I've been buying luxury bags for many years and I only just bought this one because I found it difficult to justify the expensive cost. To begin with, clutches do tend to be very expensive, so this one costs $1,050 I believe, and if you got a shoulder bag which is much bigger and much more practical for daily use from Saint Laurent, you'd only have to spend a little bit extra. So generally speaking, I don't think clutches are amazing value for money. And number two, I also just don't use them very often. When I do use them, they tend to be more for special occasions like going to a wedding or a black tie event, which is not very often. At a wedding, usually the focus is always on the bride anyway, and at a black tie event, usually the focus is on more what you're wearing because you're wearing an amazing gown. The clutch is less of a statement piece, generally speaking, I'd say. So that's why I think you can get away with really inexpensive clutches. The vast majority of clutches I own are really cheap ones. So this one I got from Topshop like 10 years ago for £30, I think. It's, you know, nothing special, obviously, it's just plain black leather, but I've used this so many times. It was so incredibly useful because it's just, you know, plain black leather, it goes with everything. Another one I got is a vintage one from a charity shop. This cost £10 and I love it as well and I've used it a ton. So I definitely think clutches are one that you can save on if you want to. My splurge item is a classic investment bag. So for me, the ultimate one is the Chanel Jumbo, which I still think is my favorite bag of all time. I absolutely love it and 100% it was worth the money for me. The Chanel Classic Jumbo may not appeal to you. You may like LV or Hermes or even Gucci, whatever it is that's your classic bag. I absolutely think that these are definitely worth a splurge. I have stopped buying Chanel now just because they've kind of priced me and I imagine a lot of other people out. Their prices are absolutely insane. I bought this when it was $2,500. That was right after a price increase, so it was a difficult price to swallow, but compared to what the prices are now, it was an absolute bargain. So they are very expensive, I do get it. However, I would always say if you've been lusting after one for years and you know you have your heart set on it, then I would say that I do think it's still worth a splurge. If I had to start all again, then it would still be absolutely what I go for, just because I know that I could have only this bag and still be very, very happy because they're so versatile, they're very classic, they never go out of style, and they're just wonderful bags. However, I would also say that don't just go for an investment bag because everyone says that you should. The most important thing is obviously whether you actually like the bag. I can think of my Chanel Beige Claire, which I had in the medium large size, as a really good example of a classic bag which I really should have loved, and I definitely liked it, but I didn't ever reach for it and it just didn't fill me with loads of joy, so I sold it on and I haven't missed it at all since. So you really do have to take into consideration that the bag needs to work for you, your lifestyle, and actually give you that buzz when you carry it and that sense of joy. I am going to mention the Gucci Marmont as well because I do get asked about this all the time, even though I feel like I have talked about it quite a lot on my channel, but I don't consider the Gucci Marmont a classic bag and I don't think it's going to retain its value in 5 years' time. But if you prefer this to whatever it is, a Birkin or a Chanel flap or whatever, then I'd say go for it. You know, I've definitely been really enjoying mine, and for me, it doesn't really bother me that it's not going to be, you know, holding its value in 5-10 years time, because I'm using it so much now that I think they're actually fantastic value for money. So if you like it, then I'd say go for it. And even though resale value and, you know, looking at the investment side of things, you know, they're important if you're planning on reselling. If you're not planning on reselling, then it's kind of a redundant point and you should really just focus on what you like and what you enjoy carrying. My next save category are tote bags, and this may surprise some people because I go on a lot about how much I love my Louis Vuitton Neverfulls, and I do. I have one of them right here, I have two. I also have the monogram in the GM size, and I would say that if you have been eyeing up a Neverfull for years and you really have your heart set on it, I would say absolutely go for it because I love my Neverfulls. They were a great buy, they have gotten a ton of usage. I think they're amazing bags. However, if you're not absolutely 100% in love with it and you're debating whether to splurge on this or go for a cheaper version, I would say that you can get away with getting some really amazing, inexpensive tote bags which do the job just as well. Obviously you don't get the LV look, but if you're not 100% convinced about it, then I would say you can just save the money and get a cheaper tote. So I have two here which are really inexpensive, which I love. So the first one is actually more mid-range, and I've talked about this bag so much on my channel, I'm not going to go on about it, I promise, but it's the Tory Burch Perry tote, of course. I talk about this bag a lot, I love it. A little plug, I am actually giving this exact bag away on my Instagram at the moment. I think there's 1 week left for the giveaway, so if you want to enter to win this bag, then I will leave that Instagram giveaway down below. But the Perry tote in general is absolutely wonderful. I think I love this bag. I do think they're bringing this style back, so I think they discontinued them for a short while. You still may be able to get these at outlets, otherwise Tory Burch do other totes which are very great as well, but Tory Burch is a really solid one. And if you want to go even cheaper, then you can just pick up a faux leather tote bag. I got this one from Nordstrom and I have used it a ton. So this was the bag I used all throughout my training for my new job, and I had to carry very heavy things, 2 laptops, chargers, notebooks, everything, and this bag did so well. It was so comfortable. There isn't any ripping or anything, even though it was basically used as luggage, and I think it was $65. You know, it's a great option if you're vegan and you don't wear leather, or otherwise if you just want a cute, you know, inexpensive bag to tote all your stuff around. It's really, really great. I don't think the blue one is still available anymore, but I think they have this in black and tan. But either way, a really nice option, and even though I definitely love my Neverfulls to bits, I also have really been enjoying this one. I love my Perry totes, and I think you can get a great tote for not that much money. My next splurge category are evening bags, and this is at the risk of sounding like I'm contradicting myself, but I do think that if you already have 1, maybe 2 everyday bags, it can be a nice option if you do want to splurge on something else to get a very nice evening bag, and it can serve you very well. So the reason why I'm differentiating between evening bags and clutches is because generally if I'm reaching for an evening bag and it's not a super special occasion, I won't ever go for something which is hands-free. You know, I'll always want a strap, and my two favorites in this case are the Square Mini and also the Chloe Drew. The Chloe Drews are around the 1,050 mark, and the Chanel Minis I think are more around the £2,000 mark now. So, you know, definitely more expensive, and this is still very luxurious and expensive, but both very beautiful bags. And for me, why I think they're worth the money is because you'll just be able to wear them more. You know, you can take these out to date night if you want. You can also use these at very special fancy occasions if you don't want to splurge on a clutch bag, but you can also wear them casually as well. So even though these two are my go-to bags for date night or going out with friends or whatever it is, I will still happily use these during the day. You know, I've taken the Chloe Drew shopping several times and it's been very comfortable to wear. Same as the Chanel Mini, you know, I've taken it on a day out trip with me and it's done very well. I took this on holiday with me one time and I wore it every single day, and it was just so practical and wonderful. So you definitely can make these work, especially if you're okay at downsizing your items on a daily basis, and for that reason I think they can be very versatile and worth a splurge if you do want to expand your collection. For my next save category, I have shoes, and I'm definitely a bit biased here because I'm 100% a bag girl at heart. I love handbags, as most of you know, and I just don't think there's anything quite like an amazing bag to see you through any occasion, any day, any outfit. Shoes are wonderful too, and I can definitely get excited about a beautiful pair of shoes, but if I was balancing one up against the other, I would definitely say always go for the bag for a few reasons. Number one, shoes can be very expensive now, so a lot of the designer ones can go £600–700, and for a couple of £100 more you could get a very beautiful classic bag. Number 2, I don't think they hold their value very well. Number 3, they go on the floor, which obviously is linked to number 2. And number 4, they can often be quite uncomfortable, which a bag very rarely is. So for all those reasons, I would always say if you have limited funds, go for the bag over the shoes. That said, I have a few pairs here if you have your heart set on a pair of Louboutins. I know I definitely did, I really wanted some. I'd say the Ariza pumps are a great shout. I also have a very beautiful pair of Jean Vito Rossi heels, which are very elegant, and I've been loving them and I've been getting a lot of use out of them. However, if you have a limited budget, then you can definitely get very similar things on the high street. So for me, I would always say with limited funds, go for the bags, get cheaper versions of the shoes, unless shoes are your thing, in which case you'll probably disagree with me, but for me it's always bags winning over shoes. Next up on my splurge list are a pair of shoes. Here I go again with the contradictory statements, but if you do really want a pair of statement shoes and you already have a couple of bags and you just want an amazing pair of shoes, then I would say that the Valentino Rockstuds are a great shout. They are absolutely beautiful, they are very expensive, and I don't necessarily think they're great value for money. However, they are incredible looking shoes. They're instantly recognizable and they can really help to make an outfit, especially if you get them in a very neutral color, you know, like a nude like this or a black or something like that. I do know lots of people who pick these as their wedding shoes as well, and I think that's a great idea. You get to wear them on your wedding day, they're definitely a beautiful choice for that, but you can also wear them after as well, which makes them a much more practical purchase. You can also wear these with dresses and skirts, but they also look really, really good when dressing up a very simple outfit of just jeans and a t-shirt as well. So they are versatile, definitely a splurge, but if you do just want a knockout pair of statement shoes and you aren't into bags or already have your bags, then I think these are a great idea. My next save item is actually the only clothing item on this list, and it is a coat, or rather coats in general. And I do have a few expensive coats as well. I love coats, they're probably my most favourite item to both buy and to wear. I live in the UK, so I get to wear coats a lot, which I guess is quite fortunate. But I think coats are just a really nice way of pulling together an outfit, and quite frequently in wintertime it's the only thing you see of your outfit because you're really bundled up. So I do think it's worth getting a nice one, but I don't necessarily think that nice means expensive in the world of coats, or most things in general, I think. I got this one from Zara a couple of years ago, and I think it's probably my most worn coat. I ask about it all the time as well, so you guys seem to love it as well. I don't think it's available anymore, sadly, not least of which because it's summer, but it was definitely a really good buy. I think it was under £100, and I've definitely owned, or I still own, coats which cost 10 times as much that I don't wear nearly as much. So I would say that you definitely don't have to spend a ton to get a really great coat. Not all cheap coats are nice, but then again, not all expensive coats are nice either. So it's worth putting the time in finding a coat that really suits you and is cut well and fits you nicely, and it can look like $1 million. So absolutely love Zara for that. I think that they do some great coats, but you can pretty much walk into any high street store, and as long as you're discerning about what you buy, I think you can end up with something that looks a lot more expensive than it is. My next splurge item is another winter one, and it is the Stuart Weitzman over-the-knee boots. I have spoken about these on my channel before. I'm a huge fan of them. I was dithering about whether to buy my first pair because it's a lot of money to spend on a pair of boots. I did, I got hooked. I now have 4 pairs, which is kind of embarrassing, but I do absolutely think these are worth it. Obviously you can get over-the-knee boots on the high street as well. I did try some on, and for me they just weren't as flattering, they weren't as comfortable, and they didn't stay up quite as well as these do, which is why these have made my splurge list. I do definitely think they're worth the money, just because these and maybe a nice coat and Christmas are pretty much the only reasons I look forward to winter, but they go with everything. I think they make any outfit look very chic. If you don't like the heeled versions, which are actually very comfortable, but if you don't do heels, then the flat ones are great as well. I also have the 50-50 boots, which I love, and these are just a very classic, very solid purchase, I think, which for cost per wear, they're very, very commendable, at least for me, because I've gotten a ton of use out of these. So if I lost all my pairs, I would absolutely make it a priority to buy another pair because they are really, really wonderful boots. Onto my last two categories now, and my last save item are cosmetic bags. So I have my LV one right here, which was a limited edition one, which is actually what pushed me over the edge to buy it. And as much as I like the print and the item, I just don't think this is a very essential purchase in the realms of luxury goods. I seem to have a lot of cosmetic bags. I either seem to just buy them or acquire them by other means. Either people give them to me or free gifts with purchase or anything like that. I have them from Victoria's Secret, Superdrug, Clinique. I have one that I use from them a lot, and I can't in truth say that I like them any less than I do this. And considering this cost, I think it was £230, I should really love this a lot more. And I just don't. I also think that cosmetic bags are just one of those things which get quite dirty. They tend to get flung around a little bit, and if you're spending this much money on a luxury item, I think you want it to be in slightly better condition than just a fling around piece. So for me, cosmetic bags aren't really an essential one, and I personally would say just put the money towards a wallet or something like that. Which brings me to my very last category, which is a splurge category, and I have SLGs, and specifically Louis Vuitton SLGs, which are my absolute favourites. I do have a few SLGs from Chanel and they're very nice, but for me, LV is the king of SLGs. So I have my three favourites here to share with you. My first one is the LV key holder, which is the one with 6 little chain bits. And for me, this is just such a great piece. It's definitely essential because I don't feel like anyone needs a key holder, but I have not regretted this 1 second since I got it. I use it a ton. It makes finding my keys a lot easier. I just think it's a really lovely piece. My second favourite is probably my LV zippy coin purse. I love this. I got it in the Empreinte leather. It's the perfect little small wallet. And then also I have my Insight wallet, which was my first ever Louis Vuitton SLG, I think, and I've had it years and it's really held up pretty well. It's looking a little bit tired now, but I've also used it an absolute ton. They are expensive pieces, so this was around the £600 mark. This one I want to say is around £350, and I think this one is £210. I will leave links and pricing details down below, but I do think that LV SLGs are just items which will last you for so many years, especially if you get it, you know, in the canvas. Canvas is really indestructible. It's very classic. It never goes out of style. If you do want to go for the leather though, I think that the leather holds up very well as well. It's very luxurious. You can get them in beautiful colours, and I just think these items which last you for such a long time, and for me personally, they are definitely worth the splurge. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope that you enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section if you agree with me, or if you think I got my categories completely wrong and you think you should splurge on shoes and save on bags or whatever it is. Let me know below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up, and as always, thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my next one. Bye guys.